Welcome to the Amplify Your Voice with Dr. Megan Bruiners podcast. This is a podcast for prophetic women in business who are called to write, publish, and influence lives with their message. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Bruiners, and this is a space for obedience, alignment, and stewardship. Take a deep breath and settle in as we share real stories from women of faith from across the globe. Let's begin. Welcome back to the Amplify Your Voice podcast. Today's conversation is one that every emerging author needs to hear, especially if you know that you've been called to write a book that actually makes impact. Because here's the truth. Many authors don't struggle because they can't write. They struggle because they overlook the very things that makes a book powerful, profitable, and purposeful. Writing a book is not just a creative process. It's strategic, it's intentional, and for many of you listening, it's deeply spiritual. So today I'm going to be walking with you through the key things you simply cannot afford to overlook when writing and launching your book. So get your pens out, get your notepad out, and I will be sharing 5 to 6 things that you basically cannot overlook, whether you are writing your first book, whether you are writing your next book as an author. So the very first thing that you cannot afford to overlook is clarity on your assignment. Before you write a single chapter, you need to be anchored in why this book exists. Not just, I want to write a book. You need to ask yourself, but who am I called to? What transformation am I assigned to deliver in the marketplace? Because when you lack clarity, you will start second guessing everything. You'll start overthinking your message. You'll delay your progress. But when you are clear, writing flows because you're not trying to sound like everyone else. You're not chasing trends. You are simply executing the assignment. I want to just share a short story with you. I had a client which went through the exact same steps. When she started writing, she wasn't clear on who she was called to. She wasn't clear on her assignment. She wasn't clear on the transformation that the book will bring to the reader. And she joined numerous of our programs. The first one was I curated a multi-author book project, and she was part of the book project. And what happened after that was there was other cohorts that I also launched, and we started doing a little bit of inner healing coaching and a little bit of identity shifts and also mindset training. What was discovered after us working together was that when the Lord assigns us to a certain people, we are still trying to catch up with our assignments and our mandate. So if we aren't clear, crystal clear on why we are writing the book, we are not going to be mastering the writing process. The way I partner with authors to finish their books is I help them to extract their blueprint, their framework, and their methodology from their personal testimonies, from their skills, from their anointing, and from their giftings. So this is not your traditional book coaching, but we go back as far as the childhood. Some of the exercises that I do with my authors is I ask them to draw a life map and connect the dots between accolades, achievements, failures, defining moments, and all of that, because our pain is never wasted. So what we discovered on the call with one of the authors was that she didn't have absolute clarity and confidence about the reader that she is writing to. So if you are a first-time author, you want to make sure that you don't skip the healing part, right? You're not skipping the clarity. You are journeying through questions. You are asking God questions. You are asking Him, why did you have to endure a certain season? You are having conversations with Him and asking Him, why did you have to endure that process? What is the lessons that you were supposed to learn, you will write down these lessons. You will write down the transformation that you experienced. You will write down your overcome process. These are all wisdom nuggets that will be going into the book. But you need to know how to structure that. I'm going to be speaking on that a little bit later. But absolute clarity, that is something that you need to have. How do you know who you are called to? Who's drawn to you when you show up online? Who are your clients? Are you writing a book that will help your clients specifically? So from the get-go, you need to be able to distinguish between, is this going to be a book for the church? Is it going to be a book for ministry purposes? Or is this going to be a book for the marketplace? Is it going to be a blueprint? Is it going to be a guide? Is it going to be a memoir? Is it going to be a nonfiction novel? So based on the direction that you are going, that will determine the style of your writing. It will determine the flow of your writing, and it will determine the structure that you will be going with. So that is also where clarity comes in, not just about your assignment, but also about the type of book that you are called to write in the season. So I'm not just speaking about writing a devotional. There's definitely a space for that. I'm not just speaking about writing a prayer journal, because what I've discovered is a lot of time we avoid writing about our personal testimony. So it's easier to write the devotional, and it's more safer to write the prayer journal. But I'm speaking to you if you know that you know that you know that God is calling you to write your personal testimony in a way that will not just cause healing to someone else, but it will also transform their life. The second thing authors often overlook is the reader's journey. Your book is not just about your story. It's about the reader's transformation. This is a big thing. If you are writing this book because you want to get your story out, I promise you, this is a sobering truth. People are not picking up books because you decided to pick up the pen and write your story. What is in it for them? Yes, your experiences matter. Yes, your voice matters. But the real question is, what will shift for the reader when they start to engage with your book? So you have to move from asking, what do I want to say, to asking, what does my reader need to experience when they pick up my book? So you're not just giving them information, but they are there to get a transformation after you have completed your book. And this is just something you cannot skip. And that is why you cannot just write for the sake of writing. There needs to be an end goal. You need to understand that when you come to your closing chapters, what are you going to be talking about in there? Are you going to be leading them to your program? Are you going to be leading them to a challenge? What is going to be the next transformation for them? So you need to structure and plan out your chapters in a way so that when it comes to the end, you are referring them to resources and those type of things. So if you know that you're writing a novel, you are going to be basing the majority of your writing on storytelling. You're going to be pointing out defining moments in your own life. Compared to if you were writing a blueprint for leaders, you would want to have conversations with the type of leader that you are writing to so that you can get the data and answer those questions in your book. Can you hear where I'm getting with this? You need data about the reader that you are writing to. So is it single moms that wants to start a business? Is it women in their 40s, women in their 70s? Can you see where I'm getting at? Because that will guide you as to the key principles that you need to be including. The third thing that you cannot afford to overlook is structure. A powerful message still needs strategy. You can for sure merge faith with strategy. So bulk of the work that we do is we help authors to merge the spiritual with the strategy. We understand that writing the book is not just a personal project, but it is a prophetic assignment. So what does that look like? It looks like you sitting with the Lord, asking him for strategy, asking him already thinking about, are you going to be using this book for speaking engagements? Are you going to be using the book at conferences? So you want to follow a thread in the book where you are telling a story and you can extract certain story points and include that in your talk. So for you that maybe want to do a TEDx talk, if you just want to be a keynote speaker at an event, the book that you're writing it in a way so that you can pull out frameworks and methodologies and then point people either back to the book or invite them on a coaching journey with you. There's always a purpose to why you are writing and also why you are sharing certain stories in your book. So one of the biggest mistakes I also see authors make is writing without direction. So we're still on the structure, not having to overlook structure. You need direction for the book, because if you don't have direction, the reader gets confused, the message feels scattered, and the impact gets diluted. So your book needs a clear pathway. Every chapter should build onto the next. So there needs to be a transition, right? Every section should move the reader forward. So because structure is what carries your message with clarity and power. So the way you start your book will have to be intentional, because you are taking them on a journey and you're basically sharing how you went from your breakdown to your breakthrough. So you can already hear, if you include too many stories or you want to merge two books in one, you don't want to be going down a rabbit hole. You want it to be clear, you want it to be simple, you want it to be polished and strong, and you want to have a common thread for what you are sharing. So I was working with a client and she was sharing about, she wants to write on confidence, on identity. You would also see there's a lot of books out there on purpose. Just because someone else is writing on purpose doesn't mean that, God is not leading you to write on it, because you may write it from a different angle. You might write it to a different audience. So don't limit yourself. You want to also find out what is working. You can have a look at Amazon. You can look on the bestseller list. Like you can look at the captivating titles. All the data is there. You just need to go and do your research. What I've heard a lot is a lot of authors, before they launch your books, they would say, okay, does this title work? Is this color of my book cover, is it enticing? So if that is you and you're asking those questions, I just want to put your mind at ease, because it is real simple. And that's exactly what we are speaking about today. When you are thinking about your book title and you're thinking about subtitles, just bear in mind that the reader will be typing in certain keywords inside of Amazon. So if your book is going on Amazon, or if it's going on a different platform, the SEO engine, you still need to keep that in account. So we think about keywords that your reader is thinking about. That is why it's important that you know the demographics and also the dreams and aspirations and the age group. You need to have an idea of the person that you are writing to. You are not writing to everyone. Let's make that clear. You are not writing to everyone. If you are going to be writing to everyone, it's going to be a random message, it's going to be a random book, and you're not going to be able to sell the book when it comes to the marketing phase. You're not writing to just the congregation. It's not just people in your church that will be buying the book. That is not your target market, right? You are looking at your tribe. You are looking at the community, because we are building ecosystems. We are building legacy platforms. You are writing to a people, but a certain type of people. Yes, someone else outside of that niche may buy the book, but you are strategic and you are being intentional to write to this community, because you are going to be using the book, whether it's a book club, you're going to be using it on different platforms. So you want absolute clarity around that. The fourth thing that you cannot overlook as an author is writing with the end in mind. I did touch on this a little bit. It's important for you to know and understand that your book is not the final destination. It's only the doorway. I know sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming, because you are just thinking, I just want to get this book done. But I promise you, when you start casting vision, you are coming into agreement with what God already ordained for you, because you are saying, I would like someone to pick this book up. I would love to do a drama or do a movie. You are speaking that into existence before the book is actually birthed. We're not waiting for permission. We are not waiting for approval. We aren't waiting on these things. You are putting it out there because you believe in the message that God has given you. You're not waiting for someone to say, oh, that is a great book idea. Even if they do come and they affirm you, but that should not be the standard. Your standard for you to move is obedience and leaving the outcomes to God. So you need to ask yourself, what will the book lead to eventually after it's published? Is it a coaching offer? Is it a 12-week program? Is it a movement? Is it a membership? Or am I going to be using it for speaking opportunities? Can you hear that that is clear? Because when you don't think of this up front, you end up with a book that inspires, but it doesn't convert. I always hear, when I hear women of faith in business, when we say, oh, I'm not worried so much about the income, but I want to make impact. We are contradicting ourselves. Because if God has called us as generational wealth creators in the marketplace, it means that when we put our message out there, He's giving us the book idea as a seed so that He can multiply it. But we need to put the seed in the ground. We cannot merely say that we want to create impact, but I'm not just doing this for the money. We need to do a faith check and ask ourselves, where is that false limiting belief coming from? Why am I saying that every time when it comes to the marketing of the book? I've heard of too many authors that downplay their giftings and say, I cannot market. I don't know how to get visible. Listen, when I started out being an author, that's the exact things that I said. But what I decided to do, I decided to trust God. I decided to trust the process, and I showed up anyway. I showed up authentically. I amplified my voice, right? And it attracted a certain type of people to me. I didn't just wait. I didn't just sit there and say, okay, Lord, you move and then I will follow. No. The steps and the clarity only came after my obedience. So if you are saying, I don't want to go live because my makeup is not done, and you are saying my hair is not done, what are these things costing you? Because it means that you are only you're being partial obedient. God has asked some of you to start the podcast. He's asked some of you to approach certain people so that you can collaborate when it comes to your book marketing. Why haven't you done that yet? So it's not that you don't have a marketing strategy. It is because we are still seeking permission to do the things that God already instructed us to do. But because it looks so big and because it can seem daunting, fear settles in. Insecurity creeps in. So it's actually got nothing to do with the marketing and the visibility, but it's because of the words that we have repeated that is not in alignment with the word of God. Because biblically, God is saying we need to be good stewards of our messages. So if we can no longer as authors say, but I don't know how to market or I don't know how to get visible. Not if we've embraced our calling. Not if we are bold. Not if we are called to disrupt spaces. We need to tap into our creativity and do the things that He has instructed us to do and trust that He will send destiny helpers to partner with us. I trust I'm speaking to some of you today. But there is an urgency for us to move because the assignment cannot wait for us when we are ready because He chose us. And if we delay, God will use someone else. The fifth thing that we cannot afford to overlook is a launch strategy. Yes, we can trust God. Yes, we can pray that our sales needs to increase, but woman of God, you need a strategy. You need a launch strategy. You need a best-selling campaign. You need to rally people around your message. You cannot launch the book on your own. You need a midwife. In the kingdom, we're not supposed to build businesses, launches on our own. We need one another. So we cannot wait until the book is finished before we start thinking about visibility. You need to start getting visible even while you are thinking about the book idea. Are you showing up online? Are you speaking around message pillars that you will be addressing in your book? Are you really showing up and sharing your insight around it? Because that is just another way of expressing the message that God has given you. And then the next step would obviously be for you writing about it. But are you showing up? Are you letting people know what you are an expert in? Are you letting them know what you've overcome? Are you putting it out there? So you should be building your audience. You should be already sharing your journey, and you should be creating anticipation for the book that is about to come, because people should already be invested before the book even becomes available or open for pre-orders. Because we're not just launching books, we are building movements. And when we are building movements, it requires us to have momentum, because it is momentum that generates results. So movement is required from us. We're not using words, I'm stuck. We're not using words, I'm stagnant, right? When the Spirit of God is flowing and when we are tapping into the supernatural, those words does not exist, because we are operating in a different dimension. I trust I'm speaking to someone today. And then the final thing that we cannot overlook as authors is stewardship. Are you stewarding your time and resources and gifts and words in a way that honors God? This is about discipline. I'm speaking about consistency and obedience to what He has called you to do. Because let's be honest, many people delay writing their books not because they lack ability, but because they overthink, they hesitate, and they wait for the perfect moment. But your message doesn't need fiction. It needs movement, and for you to operate with excellence. And your consistency, woman of God, determines your completion. And your obedience determines the reach that you will be having with your message. We're not speaking about vanity metrics. We're not speaking about likes. I'm not speaking about 1 million views, because 1 million views doesn't convert to $1 million or R1 million. We are speaking about you putting yourself out there and trusting God to multiply your time, trusting God to multiply what it is that you're putting out there. So let's just have a quick recap. I spoke about you needing to have clarity in your assignment. We spoke about the reader's transformation, making sure that you collect your data, you're having conversations with a possible reader that you are writing to, and clarifying the niche that you will be writing to. We spoke about the importance of having structure and strategy, and also writing with the end in mind. So casting vision before you even start writing chapter 1. You need a launch plan. You need a profit plan. You need a strategy. If you don't, hire a book coach, hire a consultant, or get the resources so that you can start crafting a 90-day marketing plan. And then, of course, stewardship of your assignment. So if you know that you are sitting on your book, if you know that you have no strategy, right? The faith is there, but the action part, that is, where you require an increase, because you want to merge both. You want to make sure that you are moving and you are operating in excellence, but you need a strategy, you need a plan. So I wrote a book called I'm Not Describing You. So if you just want to get some resources, my book is currently available on my website, meganbrainers.com, as well as on Amazon. So if you need a prophetic writing manual, I wrote about most of the points. If you want to go more in depth on the points that I just mentioned to you, I would encourage you to grab a copy of that. All the details will be in the description. But if you just like to sign up for a newsletter, or you want to subscribe to my Substack, Kingdom Author Corner, that's for free. I do post articles in there as well that will position you to write, to publish, and build a faith-aligned brand. All the links will be down in the description. It was amazing just chatting with you again, and I'll look forward to the next episode. For now, God bless. Thank you for listening to the Amplify Your Voice with Dr. Megan Brainers podcast. Take what resonated with you, sit with it, and pray into it. The next couple of episodes, we'll be focusing on prophetic publishing, author brands, and legacy platforms. Until next time, keep showing up in obedience, and remember, when you mind His business, He takes care of your business.